Welcome, Media Men Online. I'm Dan. This is Isaiah.
What up? What up?
Green Players Podcasts. Usual, you know the drill. So we're going to start with the Wolverine trailer, and I literally just watched this. And holy crap, is it gruesome, which it needs to be. Be like Venom PG-13, but it is brutal.
PG-13, right? That never happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember because I was watching like the State of Play live, and they were just like, "Yeah, we weren't even sure if like we could get away with this in the trailer, but we did it anyway." And it's the scene of him like putting his fist underneath the guy's head, and then unleashing the claws, and there's just like the explosion of gore. Where it's just like, yeah, that's Wolverine. You look at like it makes me feel in terms of like the violence like Logan, which was exactly kind of like what they needed to do. And I think they even said like we wanted to stay true to like the brutality of the comics, and it's like, yes, please do that.
Yeah, I like the attitude of we didn't think we'd get away with it, but we're going to do it anyways. I miss that attitude in America, you know? Push the boundaries a little bit. Don't be safe all the time. And when I was watching this, I was thinking, are kids going to be able to play this? And then I immediately thought, I don't care. Everything's not for everyone.
It's like Call of Duty. It's a mature rated game. Kids play that. I played that in freaking, high school. Shouldn't have, but I did.
There's a funny meme of it shows Call of Duty and Pokemon's target audience versus who the actual people who play it are. No,
it's opposite.
Pokemon's target audience is kids and adults play it, and Call of Duty target audience is adults and kids play it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, this looks cool. Fall of 2026 is so far away.
1 year away. My only quote unquote complaint is I was watching it and I was like, it looks a little Spider-Man-y in some of the way they move in combat. Like especially
when he's running across the roof.
Yeah. I was like, that kind of feels a little bit Spider-Man-y. And, I'm a little worried because of all the things I heard about Spider-Man 2, but a lot of people are saying, like, it was, like, a slightly different team for that. And also, like, if they took all their good talent away from Spider-Man to work on this game and had their B team working on Spider-Man 2, then, that might explain things.
What's wrong with Spider-Man 2? I don't remember.
I heard
felt fine.
The story. No, the story. Sorry, story.
Because the gameplay was
very so gameplay was really good, but like I heard the story was super lackluster and nowhere near as interesting as like the first games.
Interesting. I don't remember it being particularly boring or particularly exciting, so maybe that's the complaint. I'm not sure.
Is like the story from the first game was like a 9 out of 10, and then this one was like a 7 or 6, where it's like it's not bad, but it's a big step down.
Yeah, well, when you force feed us Miles Morales, that's what's going to happen.
What are you talking about? That's the real Spider-Man.
So, ROG, Xbox, LIX, and the Xbox, for the love of Christ, will you get your naming together? Good Lord. These are so bad. But I just want to bring this up because pricing was announced, and it's $1,000 for the big model, and I believe $600 for the small model. So I believe the white one is the cheaper one, just like with the Xbox console. The Series S is cheaper. What do you think about this price? My eyes almost popped out of my head when I saw that it was $1,000 for the big one.
Remember when we thought that the PlayStation one's price was ridiculously high?
Yeah.
And this is even more than that.
Unlike I believe this is an actual console, though, right?
Well, no, I thought it was the same thing where you have to have it.
Is it actually?
I don't know. I thought it was the same thing. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a Steam Deck situation.
Okay, maybe
Xbox on the go. The image doesn't want to come up, but play anywhere. Yeah, this.
Well, I mean, like you can technically, as long as you're connected to the network with the PlayStation one. So, like my nephew owns one. When he lives like 5 hours away from my parents' lake house, but he brings it there all the time. He's just like, He always has to tell his girlfriend, like, don't turn my PlayStation off in my room when it turns on, because as long as they're both connected to the internet, you can play it even without the console on the same network or same room. But you are required for an internet connection. So if this one doesn't
Good
require
God.
internet connection, it'll be better.
Man,
But I don't know. I'm
that
still
is
just like, how much
rough.
Switch or Switch 2 though? I mean,
400
exactly.
or is it 450?
Something. Yeah,
Oh.
450 for the Switch 2. Switch 1 is probably cheaper. I literally read this like an hour and a half ago or something.
The EA thing?
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, yeah,
Electronic Arts is being acquired for $55 billion and will go private.
yep.
So one thing that I'm not a big fan of is that another Saudi Arabia company.
Oh yeah, it's just being purchased by a bunch of investors, not by like a big other company or something, which means it's going to be even more. I don't know. I feel that makes me think it's going to be even more just like investor focused. Like, what do we want to make more money? It's
Yeah,
like
it's
cool
kind
as
of
if
sad.
EA wasn't like that as is. Now they're even deeper in
If
that.
you think Madden sucks now,
Well, wait till you get Madden 2025 Part 1, and then you get Madden 2025 Part 2. We're gonna get twice a
yeah,
year releases now.
yeah, this is not going to be good. I had hope for it when I first heard that they were going to go private, but now that seeing that it's just a bunch of investors, like if it was, true gamers who bought, but EA is such a big thing. It's going to be impossible to
Yeah.
do it without investors. But when you get investors, you got to play the investor kiss ass game and give them, weekly reports and
Uh,
how their money's being spent and how much money they're making off of it. So it's
I mean,
just
you,
another
they
crap show.
the worst part is like I'd think, okay, at least if they're being sold, at least maybe they'll get like a new CEO. Nope, Android Wilson, which is the people that love to call him Android Wilson, still CEO because he just spouts
Good
out,
lord.
robot talking points and all that stuff. Oh, God, yeah. Yep, no,
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, if EA wasn't bad as is, it's like, God, now I'm never gonna see another Dead Space game, am I? Because, hey guys, Dead Space 3 sold a lot of copies, but didn't sell as much as like Call of Duty and stuff, so it's a failure, so we're not bringing that series back ever.
Right.
Until they did. And it was just like, hey, we're just, we killed the franchise, let's just make a remake of it now.
Yep.
Just to get
The
that, yeah, just
easiest,
because we can make some
shortest.
money off of it. Now, at least
Yep.
that remake happened to be very good, which I'm happy
Oh
that it
yeah.
was a good remake, but I'm still upset that it's like, cool, you killed this franchise because you had no faith in it, but then when you can get money off of doing a remake of it, okay, now we'll do that. It's just annoys the
Absolutely.
crap out of me.
Yeah, it's just another cash grab. I mean, I had fun with Dead Space, like you were saying. It was a great remake, but instead of giving us a new one with new characters or new story, whatever, it's just like, oh, let's just push it back out, grab a quick buck. So
I still
expect a
remember.
lot more of that.
I can't remember the quote word for word, but somebody like when that happened, I was like, instead of, you know, we can't give kudos to a studio that shut down this really big project just to serve us sloppy leftovers. 10 years later when people were kind of asking for something, and that was kind of like the mentality. Now, like I said, it didn't end up being a bad game, but it's like that's the mentality of the company, and you can tell because we haven't heard from Dead Space at all since then.
Right. Jeez. And then our
Alrighty.
last bit of news.
Yep, they
Oh wow.
yeah, Magic the Gathering announced a crossover with PlayStation for a bunch of secret layers. Now they first only showed some of the hero cards, but they revealed the full secret layers. So you have Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 2, and
Oh
then
hell
Uncharted.
yeah.
Yeah, I know it's so I'm super excited for the Uncharted ones. I was like, that is a deck I am building immediately because Nathan Drake's one of my favorite. They have Kratos and like
Old
OG
school
Kratos.
Kratos.
Yeah, so you'll see they have OG Kratos, which my friend wants to build a deck on because it's just like everybody has to attack every turn or else you get hit. Then you have new Kratos, and this one's cool because it's a partner commander, so they can both be like your commander. and just a lot of the cool characters from that. They have Horizon Zero Dawn here. Um, it looks like hers is made of a bunch of reprints, not really original cards, and then they have Ghost of Tsushima is the last one
Wow.
for their PlayStation crossover. Now, I'll briefly say they announced a crap ton of Secret Lair crossovers. Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest complaints about Magic the Gathering. Maybe I'll talk about that on a future, thing when we have light stuff. But I'm having a problem with Magic the Gathering because I think next year, like they announced all the sets that are coming out next year. Of the 5, 3 of them, or I think it's of the 7, 4 of them are Universes Beyond, which is not in universe stuff. So they have like Star Trek and a Nickelodeon.
They just did a Quiet Spider-Man one.
Yeah, the Spider-Man just came out. That's one of the reasons why people have kind of hit the tipping point because it's not a good set. It just like unlike
Are there
Final
any cool
Fantasy,
Venom ones that I
I
can
mean, there's
get?
some cool. Oh yeah, and in fact, if you want a cool Venom card, I pulled one of the cool comic book ones.
Sweet.
It's comic book style. There's an actual like it's the Todd McFarlane Venom Eddie Brock covers because one side is Eddie Brock, the other is Venom, and it's like that comic book cover. That one only is in foil and can only be found in collector's packs. Is going for about $200 right now. But I got like the
Jesus.
other one. I mean, there's some cool cards in it and some fun, like a couple fun mechanics. But unlike Final Fantasy, where like I look at the cards and like their design and the art, and I'm like, this looks like Magic the Gathering. You look at the Spider-Man stuff, and it's just like this doesn't feel like Magic the Gathering. And I mean, it's getting like Star Trek, Avatar: The Last Airbender. We got another Marvel superhero one, like just full on Marvel superheroes is an upcoming set. And then there's one more Universes Beyond. I can't remember what they said, but it's like they keep on doing all these Universes Beyond stuff to the point where it's more of that than it is anything else in Magic.
Yeah.
And like for the Secret Layers was kind of where they were supposed to stay, but even that's just kind of becoming crazy because you got like the Sony ones. They have Furbies. They have a Furby Secret Layer. And it's funny because they have like a normal Furby Secret Layer, then they have like a horror Furby one where it's like Cthulhu type monsters, but Furbies. That looks kind of fun. But yeah, no, it's like this is what I wish was Universes Beyond, which is like cool little Secret Layer stuff where you can get a couple cool cards from that thing if you want to do it. Not like full on sets, unless it's like Lord of the Rings or Final Fantasy, where like they feel like they could take place in the world of Magic.
Wow.
Spider-Man doesn't feel like Magic the Gathering. But yeah, no, I wanted to say this because they're game related and they're super cool. Yeah. And I can't wait to get my hands on these.
All right. As I continue my X-Files journey, the first movie, it takes place between season 5 and 6 of the X-Files. And yes, I'm up to season 5 and 6. My last off week, I was sick the entire week. So I just freaking laid in bed for 70% of it and watched X-Files, among other things. But the movie is essentially an episode and a half, maybe 2 episodes worth of material pushed up on a higher scale. Like you could tell the budget was better. You could tell that they put a little more effort into everything they were doing just in terms of production. But other than that, it was a really fun, like, double episode. It didn't feel out of place. They didn't do this thing that drives me nuts in anime when they announce a movie and it's just part of the normal series. Like when Dragon Ball used to do it and it was a movie that was separate. My Hero Academia does it too, where the movie's separate from the story. It's an additional piece of material. In this, the beginning of season 6, I didn't know where the movie landed. So I went from season 5, episode 20 or whatever, to season 6, episode 1. And it showed previously on X-Files. I'm like, wait, I didn't see this. What happened? And that was the movie. So during the entire series to that point, it's kind of like a will they, won't they? Do aliens exist? Don't they? Like, the audience is meant to be with Mulder in that they know more is going on, and Scully's like the debunker type person. But in this movie, they make no bones about it. Aliens are real. there's a conspiracy going on with the aliens, but still Scully misses out on the the reveal. So she can continue with her skepticism throughout I'm in season 6 now. But it was a fantastic movie. 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which I'm curious to know if a lot of these 3-star ratings are from people who just watched the movie. Because I would be curious, Isaiah, if you get a chance, why don't you watch just this movie and see if you get anything out of it?
Well, if you want to know something funny, I was going to mention, do you know the only thing that I've watched of the X-Files is the newer movie, X-Files?
Yeah.
That's the only X-Files thing I've ever watched related, and it was one of the most confusing things I ever watched, because I think my parents were big X-Files fans, so the movie came out, and they're like, oh, they brought it home and threw it on, and I watched it, and I just had no idea what was going on.
Well, give this one a try. It's like a 2-hour movie. Hour and 21. There you go. I'd just be very curious to see if you get anything out of this one. It didn't feel like it was out of place, and they do a lot of like explaining things, but not in an exposition dumpy type of way. But it's different because I've been watching the show, so I'd just be very curious to see what you think of this movie in itself. Gotcha. So if you get a chance this week, give it a shot. Do you have Hulu? I think it's on Hulu.
Yeah, I got Hulu.
Just watch that this week. You know, by the next time we record, I'd be so curious. But obviously, if you're an X-Files fan, you've probably already seen it. But it was a very fun movie, and I'm gonna finish this series out. So, Ready or Not 2019.
Yes,
I have seen this.
So I watched it for the first time because it's a movie that had been on my radar for a long time, and I knew like this was the movie that got this duo. That's what got them to be hired for the Scream sequels that they made for I think it was 5 and 6, because they were like, oh, it's such a good horror comedy. So it's like people were talking about it on a thing that I was watching. And I was like, you know what? I should just watch the movie. I've heard good stuff about it enough, and yeah, it was a pretty fun, good movie. I think it's the kind of movie that you won't enjoy as much the second time, because part of the movie is the suspense of like the idea of, hey, this thing that these people believe, is it real or not? And it's kind of building up to that the entire movie. And knowing that would kind of suck a little bit of the tension out, but it's still a very fun movie, very entertaining. It does have that perfect mix of comedy and, horror that I like. And yeah, definitely very much worth seeing if you're into it. My roommate walked in on me watching the last 7 minutes of the movie and was so confused at what was happening. But I was like, trust me, it's a good movie. You just there's just a lot going on that you guys don't understand.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Yeah, no, apparently they're making a sequel, and I'm like, I don't know how that's gonna work. They're gonna have to do something really fresh with it, because what made this movie work is only gonna work once. And there's some big people in the sequel, I guess. I was looking it up, and I was like, there's some pretty big names. I'll look it up again here. They've got, it's called Ready or Not, Here I Come. Catherine Newton is in it. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Kevin Durand, who I really like. David Cronenberg is going to be in it. Elijah Wood. Some pretty big names there. So Kevin Durand, so it's funny because him and Catherine Newton were both in Abigail, the vampire girl movie.
He's a villain in every movie he's
he was just in The Naked Gun as well, as one of the secondary villain in that one. I really like him as an actor. He's just very fun, no matter kind of what role he's in. I wasn't a big fan of Abigail, but he was really fun in that movie. But yeah, we got some big names being added to the sequel, so I'm like, well, there's no plot details out about it yet, so I guess we'll see what happens. But I'm willing to at least give it a shot.
Yeah. What was that movie Elijah Wood was just in, where he's in it for 60 seconds? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Monkey, hopefully, which, by the way, the more I think about that movie, I'll say the more I think about the movie, the I like that movie more and more. I don't know. I think I just got unfortunately hurt by my first viewing experience where I was way too tired to pay attention. But I
Yeah,
might
I
want
think
to watch it now and
initially
see
I
what
was
you're
pretty
saying.
high on it and you weren't as much, but it was a fun movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Bad Man with Stifler from American Pie, Sean William Scott. One of my actors that I liked growing
Oh
up.
yeah.
But anyways, this is in a small town in Tennessee, and Sean William Scott is a sheriff from Nashville. So he's like the big town guy coming to the small town to try and break up this drug ring in this small town. His methods are unorthodox, we'll say to say the least. The small town sheriffs and deputies and all those guys, they're very like by the book. They're very kind of delicate because they have to live in this small town. They know all the people personally. Sean William Scott, on the other hand, he's the big city guy who is a by any means necessary, including a lot of police brutality, which is kind of his gimmick, hence Bad Man. But it's a fun movie. I've never heard of Colt Lake, Tennessee. I don't know if it's an actual place or not, but like an actual real place. But the movie's very fun. Sean William Scott is an underrated actor, I feel like. He was in this movie that I had just seen recently. There it is, Bloodline. I talked about it on a previous episode, but he's fantastic. The movie is it doesn't show what the actual rating is. But it's a solid 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 type of movie, and I just had a lot of fun watching it. And I don't know if it's maybe because I like the actor or because he's just good at playing this kind of like wild card type of character. But the movie's fun. It's a high recommend. It's brand new. It just came out, I don't know, a couple months ago, 2025. But Michael Dilberti, I've never heard of this guy. Oh, no wonder. He's got one credit to his name, and it's Badman. The movie's well filmed. The acting is very good. There's not a lot of like downtime either. It's a quick to the point movie. So I would recommend it to anyone out there. It's a nice action, it's set in present day as well. So even though he's a big city guy, you get a lot of like the old school of a small town, even though it's present day. So high recommend. It's a lot of fun. It's not going to be anything where you're like, oh my God, that's the best movie I've ever seen, but you're going to get exactly what you want out of it. And I did appreciate it. The Long Walk, also
Did
from this year.
you watch this one?
No, but I don't care about spoilers, so.
Okay. Well, so this was the movie that I didn't really, I watched the trailer for it and I was like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it'd be that interesting. But it came out and it was getting good reviews. Some people were talking positively about it, so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go watch it, especially because my roommate wanted to see it. So we both went to see this movie. I don't know anything about the book that it's based off of. I guess it was one of his like Stephen King's first ever books that he wrote. Um, but I would say that overall it's a pretty good movie, even though it is just a movie about a bunch of people walking. They do enough in it and make the characters interesting enough and the dialogue that they're talking about engaging enough that you're engaged in the story. And I think one of the things I like a lot about this that a lot of things usually get wrong is that they don't get deep into like the details of this world. There's just like the premise is there was a civil war in the past. We don't know what it was about, what it was over, what happened. All we know is that it ended, and in order for the country to get back together, they hold this long walk once every year, to kind of like motivate people to get the economy back going. And, it's one of those things where like they say that this works and that this thing happens. They don't get too much into it because you don't really need to. That's not the purpose of the story. It's not to like break into what this world means. It's about these characters, their specific motivations, and the growth that they go through. Do you? I don't know. I really liked this movie. It's kind of obvious where it's going to end up, but what like I said earlier, it doesn't really matter because you're there for like the journey, not for like the ending point. But I do want to mention how I was enjoying this movie up until the end. I do think the end, especially thematically, is a huge letdown. And I was like, I wonder if they did the thing. So I looked it up and I was like, yep, they changed it from the end of the book. And I read what the end of the book was supposed to be, and it's much better. And I don't know why people constantly feel the need to change the end of things so that way they have their own unique ending, especially when the previous one is really good and is, kind of like what the story's been building to, especially a story like this.
All right, let's
So,
tell what the ending. Spoilers for the end of The Long Walk.
all right, this movie ends with just like you can kind of see them there, the middle three, the guy in the tank top, guy with his arms crossed, and then the black guy to his right. Which, by the way, that guy David Johnson, he was also in Alien Romulus and was the best part of that movie. And he is one of the best parts of this movie as well. He's a phenomenal actor, and he's starting to become one of those actors where, like, if I see his name in something, I'm gonna be like, let me check this thing out. He does a really good job. My problem with the end of this movie is it ends up becoming they're the final three, and then it's just the two guys who are the friends, the two in the middle there, and the guy in the middle. This entire time, he's like, I joined this walk because I want to kill the major because he killed my dad. Because like in this universe, there's like restricted media, like songs and stuff, and he was taught it as a kid, and his dad got killed for it. So he's like, I'm gonna, I get a free wish after this, and I'm gonna wish for a carbine and kill the major. And the guy on his right is telling him the entire time, you got to be a better person. They're gonna kill you if you do that. You gotta live for your mom, type of thing. It it makes a lot more sense when you experience the full story. But it ends with the kid who wants the revenge stopping and letting himself die and let the other guy win because he's like, you're a better person than I am, which has been the case throughout the entire movie. He's like, you can see the light in things, the good in things. And that's kind of like the whole premise of the movie is just like there's a lot of this whole entire world is about one that's super negative focused, and this is the one guy who has a positive look on the world and wants to do these nice things. And how does the movie then end? Is it goes super out of character for him, where like the guy sacrifices himself because he says, "Oh, you are good, I'm not good," and then they immediately have that guy wish for a carbine and shoot the major, and then he walks off, and it's like, cool, you just went against everything that this movie had been building up to, and completely, undid the sacrifice that this one character did. I looked at what the original ending is, and it's the opposite, where I guess not so much the opposite, but the black guy is the one that stops walking and sacrifices, or I guess not so much sacrifices, but he gives up because he's tired and says you have a mom, you have a family to go back to, and that guy wins. But because he's been doing this walk for so long, he thinks he sees somebody still walking ahead of him, so he just walks right past the finish line, thinking, I got to keep walking. And I think that thematic idea of what this was became such a core part of who he was that he can't let it go fits much better with what the story was building up to than I'm gonna instantly become a corrupted person and take revenge, even though the whole entire point of the sacrifice was that I'm not the kind of person that would do that. That's it. Makes a lot more sense if you like watch the full movie, but I don't know. I think the original ending fits the themes and what the movie had been building up to a lot better than the ending of the movie. I still really enjoyed it. I'd still probably give it like a 7 or 8 out of 10. I guess so. I kind of agree with their ranking there, like a 7.5. But yeah, no, the ending is just what disappointed me. But the journey up to it was very entertaining and very good. I would highly recommend watching this movie. Um, besides that,
So you're saying Mark Hamill gets shot in this movie?
oh yeah, shot that. Let me tell you, Mark Hamill is one of
Maybe
the
I'll
most
watch it after all.
despicable, unlikable characters ever. And he's barely in the movie too. At that, he like pops up for like 60 seconds
Yeah,
and then
he's the worst.
disappears for a while.
I mean, him as a human, he's the worst.
Yeah,
So
typecast really well. Then you'd
all
say,
right.
right?
Yeah. Oh wow, what impressive range. He plays an absolute piece of trash. Weird. Weird. All right. Demon Slayer, Infinity Castle. Okay. I'm going to take my hat off for this one because this movie was good. The animation is great, of course. The fight scenes are fantastic for the most part. The story, all well and good. But the thing that I do not like about the Demon Slayer series is on full spotlight in this movie. Okay? So what's the name of the character, this dude with the stripes on his head with the tattoos
Azusa.
or whatever?
I believe it's Azusa.
What the hell's his name?
Azusa, right?
Akaza, there we go.
Or Akaza.
Okay. So Akaza, we sat through Mugen Train, where Akaza killed our favorite character. That was Rengoku. And this guy has been a menace this entire time. Absolutely despicable. Biggest piece of trash, Mark Hamill level style piece of trash. You can't wait for this guy to die. You have been itching for it. When did Mugen Train come out? 2021? You have been
right
itching.
after COVID.
Yes. There's nothing you want more in this series than to watch this guy die. So what happens? Tanjiro goes total Ultra Instinct. Spoilers for Infinity Castle. Isaiah talked about it last week, so I'm just giving my thoughts now. Goes full Ultra Instinct and kills him. But he's still alive. This is the point where the movie absolutely, it lost me. Up until this point, was full into it, loved it, 9 out of 10, absolutely no question about it. The moment where Tanjiro chops his wig off is one of the coolest things ever. They immediately make it terrible by him still being alive. And I know it's based on the manga, but we're doing this based strictly on this movie. And then what do we get? We get about the final 45 minutes of this movie, give or take, are based on this guy's backstory. Why do I need to be sympathetic towards this guy who has tormented our favorite characters for years of my life of hating this guy? And now I have to sit through, oh, this is why he's like this. I don't care. I don't care what caused him to be the way he is. I just want him done. And then all of a sudden, he's walking around with no head. We get flashbacks. Oh, he's such a sympathetic character. No, he's not. I don't care what caused him to be this. Then we get it back to where he's walking around with no head still fighting. So the moment that Tanjiro succeeded is gone. That cool ass moment where I saw this movie a couple weeks after it came out, and there were people clapping, like cheering in the theater when he swipes this dude's head off. And all the air is sucked out of the theater when he's still alive. And what ends up happening? He ends up beating himself, but in trying to do that trick that he did on Rengoku, does that like infinite punch thing, and he's still alive again. And the only reason he dies after 40 goddamn minutes of sitting here where I don't care about anything that's on the screen, he ends up like, oh, let's drift off into the nether. I'll let myself die now. You didn't kill me. You don't get the satisfaction of revenge. I did it myself. I decided. That's the problem. You kill off these characters and then you give me this moment, like this scene of trying to be sympathetic towards it. They did it. What's the name of the two characters, the brother and the sister from the show?
And they do that with every single demon. I mean, I'll just quickly say
it's
here,
irritating.
It's funny because I actually like the entire last part of this movie here, and I think
Oh my god!
I don't know. For me, I don't see it as sympathetic. I see it as empathetic, which are different things. Because I don't feel bad for him, but what I do is I understand where. Because it's less that I feel bad for him, but I understand why he is the person that he is now. It doesn't make me pity him, but I understand him better, and that's why I personally really liked that. And what you see as like this, oh, because first off, he even says like he doesn't defeat himself. He says because Tanjiro and what Tanjiro did brought up those memories from his past back in him. That's what allowed him to remember these things that he had forgotten and to accept his defeat. Because like his whole entire character arc was that he just literally couldn't accept loss at all, and he forgot all these things. And because of
Right.
Tanjiro, he remembered those things. So I still see it as like Tanjiro defeated him not in the
He didn't.
physical battle, but in the kind of mental battle.
Yeah,
That like
that's horrible.
the fight that actually mattered. I don't know. I like this idea of there is a demon
No,
that
the
is
fight that mattered was the cool fight scene that we
well,
were all waiting for.
and we got that. And I don't know. For me, I found it super
But
cool
then
where
he
this
he's
guy
just
wants
like
to win so badly that even cutting off his head doesn't kill him.
the whole buildup was not to like, oh, but this is what his memories are. That's not the build. The buildup is Tanjiro's revenge on this guy who's haunted him for I don't know what the time frame is in the series, but it's been 4 years of our time. It's crazy. It's so crazy that they keep doing this. But I guess it's a common theme in this series. The backstory of when they show Tanjiro before he goes Ultra Instinct, and then the backstory that we already know from the Rengoku thing is all the backstory we needed. And then when they show this guy and they drag it the hell out, there's so much time spent. I don't know how they're going to do this into a TV show because they're going to have 2 episodes of Akaza backstory. It's crazy. You were sitting there thinking, why is he like this? And I'm thinking, die.
Yeah, I know, and that's why
that's the difference.
And
if they would have cut this part down by half, I don't know what the exact time frame was, but if they would have cut it in half, I don't think it would have felt as irritating. But I was still so.
I think I know what the real problem was is they didn't space it out enough. But I think it's because they couldn't really get into his backstory stuff until after he got his head cut off. Because that's when you start needing to explain why is he fighting so hard. Because you see, he gets his head cut off. Demons are supposed to die when they cut their heads off. But his will to fight is so strong that not even that will... Like, he has such a strong will to stay alive and fight that not even cutting off his head will kill him. And I found that super engaging.
So
and
here's
very
how
interesting
I'll fix
like,
it.
Why?
To make it where I would have enjoyed it, here's how I would have fixed it. I would have cut down that bit by half. I would say just throwing it out there half. But here's what would have happened. And it would have covered both your enjoyment of it and my enjoyment of it. Tanjiro cuts his head off, right? And he's still walking around with no head. Then you do his so he's still trying to walk around with no head. Tanjiro's out because he used all of his Super Saiyan God Ultra Instinct, whatever.
The mark.
His mark. Demon powers or whatever. And so Akaza's still walking around. Then they cut to the flashback. You chop that sucker in half, where he's still trying to fight with no head. Then you can put in the stuff of how he's still trying to fight with no head. And then you cut to him like accepting it and fading away. You don't have to do this thing where he's still like battling with no head. You do this thing where he's like struggling to stay alive with no head, and then he finally lets go. That would have made it so Tanjiro did the kill, and that would have made it so satisfying to like you would have done the best of both worlds. There's my editorial fix. And I know they got to stick to the manga, whatever, but that would have been how, if I could edit it, because I'm not just going to complain and not come up with a solution, but I think that would have been the perfect way. You would have gotten your perfect story to where, I wanted the satisfaction of that head slice to be the final blow. But the satisfaction really of both cool myself and the entire theater felt this like release of satisfaction. everybody loves Rengoku. Everybody. And that would have just been like, that would have been the cherry on top. But all right, let's move on. We could probably talk about this for another hour, but
You probably remember me talking about this show, Dan, and how much I
you
really
did a
liked
little
it.
sigh just now. Is that a bad thing?
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, you remember how much I really liked this show, right? When I reviewed like
Oh, you
Halfway
said
Point.
liked.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how 3 episodes can change everything?
That guy's name's Joe DiMaggio.
Yep, that's the character's name. It's Joe DiMaggio Hermit. He was named after its baseball player, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's part of his character. The dad was super into baseball, and like part of like his character thing, which by the way disappears after the second episode, is like he finds like, oh, a signed baseball by like Joe DiMaggio, and it's like this point of connection. Anyway, I could talk about this show for a while. I just want to say that this show went being from one of my most like exciting shows that I had watched this year to one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen ever. First off, if you can read so many articles and it's baffling where this show ends and I'm like, cool, we got like 3 more episodes of this show, right? Nope, that's the end of the first season. And then I go and look it up and it's, this show hasn't been renewed for a second season. The creator just said, well, I mean, if we get a second season, cool, but if we don't, then the audience can just make up the ending they want then. I'm like, huh? That's not how storytelling in TV shows work. I don't know, it's so disappointing what they do with the aliens, because the aliens are usually like the driving force of the story in every Alien movie. I don't like Alien Covenant, but you know, for the last half of that movie, the alien is at least the driving force. Like, but in this one, the aliens are just tools that the main character, who can speak alien apparently, or xenomorph, sorry, I gotta say that, the xenomorph, uh, it's just like, they're just like, oh, she can control them with like noises and whistles now, and they're just like these tools. They're shown in broad daylight most of the time. They're not scary. They're not threatening or haunting, you know, or just like this unrelenting alien force that could kill you because they are unfeeling and uncaring. Nope, they're controlled now by an android or by a hybrid. And it's funny because somebody mentioned this, and I think it rings so true. This isn't an Alien TV show; it's a Blade Runner TV show, because it's about the ethics of synthetics and putting humans' minds into robot bodies and ownership and stuff. I was like, this. It's a show that's trying to do Blade Runner themes, and then they just stick some aliens in there so they can call it Alien Earth. And that really becomes apparent for the last 3 episodes, because like the 5th episode is and you look at it too, is everybody's favorite, because what is it? It thematically fits in with the original Alien movie. You know, they were on a mission to collect alien life forms, and somebody sabotages the ship and gets, you know, some facehuggers on the people, and there's an alien running around now, and they have to deal not just with the xenomorph, but there's a bunch of other aliens on the spaceship as well, which were really interesting. There's this like eyeball octopus thing that is one of the most interesting aspects of the show, and they just don't really do much with it. I don't know, I couldn't believe how I went from it being one of my favorite shows of the year to being probably one of the most disappointing. Especially that last episode, the way it ends, it's like, now we rule. And then it just plays a rock song, and then the show ends. And it's like, that's one of the lamest endings to an episode I've seen, and especially the lamest endings to like a season, where you don't actually finish a story. I don't know, it's disappointing is the perfect word. Because like the guy that's 5th in line there, this guy who plays a cyborg named Morrow, he's one of the most interesting characters on here, and they just do nothing with him in the last part of the show. He's just like not important. And even I don't know if you scroll over, but Timothy Oliphant's on this show, and he was a super interesting character. Yeah, I guess it'd be under View More, but Timothy Oliphant's on here as an important character, and they just do nothing with him either.
Think a big name they'd put towards the front. Jesus,
I know. I don't get it, because he's a big part of the show too. But throughout the first 5 episodes, it really seems like there's something going on with him, and it feels like he's like has his own interests and things he's doing, and then they just drop all that as if none of that happened, and it's so disappointing, because there was so much they could have done, Uh, oh, he was in that. I remember we talked about that show. Yeah, no, it's.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of dumb choices that they made in the last 3 episodes, and that final episode is one of the worst finales to anything I've ever watched. Because it does. If you don't know if you're getting a season 2, make a
Is
satisfying
it worse
story
than
arc.
Dexter New Blood finale?
Um, I I don't know. Dexter New Blood. The problem with Dexter New Blood is it took like it was only that final episode.
Yeah.
Like this one fell apart episode 6 to 8. Dexter New Blood.
Oh.
It was one choice they did. Dexter New Blood that made it go from being. And here's what I'll say. At least with Dexter New Blood, they end like you can watch Dexter New Blood and you feel like you got a complete season of TV. Like
Yeah,
there's a beginning
that's
to
true.
that arc and there's an end. This one feels like, a mid-season finale, or not even that. It feels like there's 2 more episodes left or 3 more episodes left, and they just ended the show. And like I said, you read the interviews with this director, and it's some of the most insane stuff where he just goes, "Yeah, I just decided to make it how I wanted to make it, and if we don't get a season 2, well, the audience can just make up what ending they want for it. That's what they're there for." And it's like that's not
What
how
the
TV
hell?
works. Yeah, it's like that's not how TV works. You make a complete story for a season, and then if you get a season 2, you can build upon everything that you did.
That's weird.
It kind of reminds me once again because Timothy Oliphant was in that show, but the Santa Clarita Diet, where
Oh,
they were told, hey, you're not getting a season 4, and the director was like, well, we want a season 4, so we're going to try to force your hand by leaving a cliffhanger on season 3. And then it got canceled, and they were like, well, guess they called our bet. We're never going to be able to finish the show.
Wow.
But like
That's crazy.
this one, the guy, like at least that one, they were like, it's season 3 at least, where they're like, we hope we have a good enough will that we can get a season 4 because people actually like the show. No, this is just one season, and you had it. Like I said, Dan, you can just literally watch episode 5 of this show, and you're gonna have a great time because it feels very Alien, without. And this is what they say: it felt Alien and incorporated a lot of the things we loved about that first movie without being just a straight copy or repeat. Unlike let's say The Force Awakens, where The Force Awakens just literally feels like episode 4 again. This one feels like they're doing some of the same beats, but it feels new, and they're doing different things with different characters while still having that same feeling that the first movie gave you. And
Sure.
being on this spaceship. And I mean, even the first 2 episodes made me think like, we're doing a Alien/Aliens kind of vibe of, there's a crashed spaceship and an alien running loose, and they have to go and find and rescue people while having to deal with this alien. But no, that's just the first episode and a half, first 2 episodes. That's it. And then they go to an island in the middle of the ocean for the rest of the show. I don't know. It went from being one of my favorite things, and you can watch so many different reviewers do that. They're the same mentality where it's like this show had such good promise, and they wasted it completely. And I don't blame any of the actors too, because the acting's really good in this show. I guess the kid there, the one that's named Joe DiMaggio, he's in like Fargo, which people really like, and say like
Never
he's a really
seen it.
good. Yeah, they say like he's from that and he's really good on that too. But yeah, I couldn't believe that this show just had all this goodwill and then was like, hey, because I think the big thing was the people who wrote like the last 3 episodes didn't work on any of the rest of the show or anything, except for like maybe the finale was the same director. But it's like, why couldn't you just keep the writers that was writing good stuff? Why did you have to ruin it?
Yeah.
I'm so sad because I was like, Alien's finally good again. I haven't had a good piece of Alien, material that I've really, really enjoyed since Aliens. Like Alien Romulus had some good aspects to it, but it also felt like a fan film. I don't know.
True.
I should
All
stop
right.
talking about it. It's just so sad.
This one will be quick. Ink Master. It's one of those reality shows where people compete, tattoo artists compete, and they have all these different kinds of challenges. It's very Survivor-esque, which we're going to talk about, but it's all with tattoos, doing different styles, doing different body locations, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not like covered in tattoos. I have one, but
I've always been a big like fan of them, if that makes sense. I don't need to be covered head to toe to appreciate and enjoy them, but I've also been watching like these clips on YouTube, and it's very jarring and annoying because this guy Oliver Peck, he's one of the judges. These three, Dave Navarro, who's like a singer or something. He's in a band. I don't know. Chris Nunez and Oliver Peck, who are tattoo artists, who are the judges. You know, and it's similar to a lot of these shows, American Idol mixed with, you know, whatever. But Oliver Peck, who's one of the main judges, was caught in the cancellation wave of like the 2020s, and he apparently in 1994 or whatever, he did blackface, so they canceled him, but they can't take his input out of the show. So what Paramount does on their YouTube channel is every time he's talking, they just show an image of the tattoo. So in all of the clips, his voice is in it, but his face isn't. It's so weird. Like, who cares? Like, he's not. They didn't find out that he's like Jeffrey Dahmer or something. They found out that something that was okay back in the day, he did it back in the day, but now it's not okay. So now he's canceled like retroactively. It's so weird to watch, and it's kind of jarring because you're like, who's that? If you didn't know any better, like I used to watch this show when it first came out. If you didn't know any better, they just showed Dave Navarro and Chris Nunez. So when you hear that third voice, you're like, wait, what? That doesn't sound like either of the other two guys. What's going on? It's just very weird and very stupid, and shame on Paramount for taking his face out of there because it's absolutely pathetic. Like, it's not okay when Oliver Peck does it, but it's okay when Jimmy Kimmel does it. So take that for what you will. Jimmy Kimmel did Black Body. What'd you say?
Well, I'll say it once again. It's okay when Dave Chappelle did it, you know, to make himself a white man. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Didn't you know?
So I don't know if you've ever seen this, but Jimmy Kimmel used to do Black Body as Karl Malone. So on the Man Show, Jimmy Kimmel apologizes for performing in blackface. If you have a D next to your name or you're on that blue side, then it's okay to apologize. But Oliver Peck is just removed from. It's just watch one of these videos. It's so weird. Who's that third voice? What's going on? But the show in itself is fun. The old episodes still have his face in it, at least on the channel that I watched them. But it's a fun show. It's interesting to see. And these people get tattoos for free, like the canvases, they call them. The people who come in for the tattoos, they're free, but you run the risk of getting someone to give you a crappy tattoo, because if they're not as good at, so there's different types of tattoo designs, like there's cartoonish and realistic and pinups and things like that, and a lot of these people aren't proficient in all areas, so you run the risk you're getting a free tattoo that would otherwise cost you a few $100, but you run the risk of somebody jacking you up. So credit to them, because these people are brave. Honestly, I would never do it, you know, but man,
All right.
that's a dangerous thing. God,
I'll be very quick with this one. Continuing my Survivor journey. Watch season 3. I really liked that season. I found it very enjoyable. There's some, you know, some actual, I don't know, it feels real at this point, but also like there's alliance stuff going on, but it doesn't feel like that's like the only thing happening. And the fact that it's like, oh yeah, we make a tribe in the beginning, and that's, or alliance in the beginning, and that's the alliance that makes it to the end. And there's no like, you know, five five different, a 5-way backstab and jumping around and doing stuff. It hasn't, and I think that's around the point I'll probably stop watching it. But it's really fun, and I do really like who ended up winning this one. It was funny because like there's the final three, and I was like, there's one guy where it's like if he makes it to the final two, he's super winning this thing because he's just he was like the face of a lot of this stuff and got all these things to happen, and you could tell. But then he didn't win immunity and got kicked out of the final three to not make it into the final two. Where it's like, yeah, that guy would have won if he had made it in. And it made sense that they'd want to get him out because that would happen. And I don't know. Season 3 was very enjoyable. I liked the kind of because I don't know, when I think Survivor, I think of just like away on an island somewhere. And this one was just like, no, they're in the heart of Africa, and like the real threat here was like they have lions outside, and like the animals themselves seem to be like a very very big threat compared to some other stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed.
They
season
kind of
3.
go away from that after, I believe it's Australia's season 2 and then Africa season 3, and then from that point on they do islands. So maybe logistically, in terms of setting up the show, they kind of go away from that. It might be difficult.
When you think of like Stranded, you think Stranded on an island type of thing. I mean, season 4 seems really interesting because they said for this one, it's like, they're not going to be giving them anything to like start off with. Like they're going to have to get their own food and their own water. Like, because usually I guess they give them some supplies to survive a little bit off of. They're like, we're giving these people nothing. They're going to have to do this because they even said like fire. Usually it will be like, oh, the first reward for immunity is the winning tribe gets fire or something. Like they usually it's like fire is given away. They're like, we're not giving you fire ever. You have to make your own fire. So I think the other thing is like if you go to tribal immunity, you have your flame put out. Everybody else gets to take their torches back with them, and they're like, yeah, you can use that for fire. Then when you get back, they're like, nope, torches are staying here. You can't bring fire back with you. And so like I've watched a little bit of season 4 so far, and it was a big deal when somebody just let the fire sit and go out because they had trouble getting it back up again for a while, and it was a big issue. I don't know. That's why like season 4 seems like it's going to be interesting because they're doing more of like a actual like survival aspect of it. But like I said, I'm probably going to keep watching these until I find it boring or not fun anymore. But there's a reason why this show has 49 seasons, I guess. The first 3 seasons have been super entertaining and great things to throw on in the background at least. Like, it's usually when it's like I have something else I need to work on, let me throw this on in the background.
So the first like dozen seasons are very good.
Yeah.
And then they go off the rails a little bit, but all right, real quick on this one. So this I spoke briefly about this YouTube channel prior, and it was when I talked about the Sal Volcano comedy special because it's on this. But I wanted to bring this up because I've been watching this a little bit more, where they have a ton of comedy specials on here, some compilations, but there's a little bit for everyone. So Craig Ferguson, who used to be one of the late night show hosts, they have tons of different stuff. I came across this Scottish lady yesterday who is very unique in terms of obviously being Scottish, but in terms of her style and delivery. Jimmy Carr, absolutely fantastic. But they have a variety of different types of people, even Howie Mandel, and different styles of comedy. So on this channel, there's a little something for everyone. You kind of know what you like, and you can dabble as you go along. But let's say you want to check out this Alfred guy here. You get 10 minutes in and you don't like his stuff, you can just move on, and there's no other channel you have to go to. You can just, try a little bit of everything. So it's very interesting. And, I was just kind of in a comedy mood this week. You need it. You really do. And that'll show on the next thing I talk about. But 800-pound gorilla is the 800 PGM is the channel handle, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's just very interesting because there's a ton of people whose names I've heard of, like Chris Gethard. I don't know I've heard of him before. I don't know where, but figured I'd check him out. You know, that kind of thing. So the name of the Scottish lady is Fern Brady. You want to check her out, but she's pretty funny. So, all right, let's see. Oh, this guy. I remember this
Yep.
dude.
So I think a while ago I talked about how I watched a video of his called "The Unreality of Pro Wrestling," which talked about like the Roman Reigns story. But it was like, that video came out 2-3 years ago, and this was his update video, because I guess like that whole entire story arc kind of came to a head whenever he made this video. And I found it really interesting because he was like, we didn't realize at the time, but it wasn't just the story of Roman Reigns, but also Cody Rhodes is kind of like where it all came to a head. So he kind of took his old video and kind of mixed it together with this other side of the story, and then had like this proper ending. And I mean, you don't have to watch the first video to watch this one. This one incorporates that previous video, but just with the new stuff mixed in. But I'll tell you, it's because of his videos that I went from never caring about, I guess, yeah, I just say never caring about wrestling ever to it's one of the most interesting things, and I just crave to hear more because like the stories that they come up with and like the thought that just seems to go into it just seems insane to me. And as somebody who really loves doing my own storytelling, it's like I wish I could come up with some of the stuff that they do with this. And it's certainly worth a watch, whether you like wrestling or not. Because I'll tell you, I watched these videos and I did not know the first thing about wrestling, and it made me a wrestling fan even though I've never seen it before, because I don't know. I just love this stuff and how like people just see it as, at least the perspective I had is just people beating each other up in the ring, and it's like it's so much more than that. The stories that happen mean so much. And that's all I'll say in the video. Just give it a watch. It's super amazing though, especially that the way that this, I guess the storyline ended with the WrestleMania of Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, like I guess the second time, and just how it all concluded and wrapped up, and how everything that had happened beforehand just led into this, and it all thematically works out perfectly, is just so good.
As I said, been into comedy this week, and Dave Attell is a guy who I've known from, there was a show he had called Insomniac from the, probably early 2000s. Let me pull it up here. Is it going to show up? Yep. Insomniacs with Dave Attell from 2001. I've always kind of had insomnia, so I was always up when the show was on. So he would just go around to like these towns and these places and just kind of learn new things and meet weird people. And the intro theme song is absolutely ridiculous. So check that out when you get a chance. But this stand up, I didn't know he had one. I guess apparently it's on Netflix. I mean, I watched it on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
But this Dave Attell has a very unique style. He pulls no punches, and speaking of punches, every single punchline, this was loaded. It's like an hour-long special, and it is freaking loaded with punchlines. Bam, bam, just constantly, just every little bit of a story he's telling has a punchline, and it's just it's rapid fire for a lot of it. And the guy's hilarious and ridiculous. He takes self-deprecating shots at himself, which is some of the funniest comedy he has in the show, but he's been doing it for a long time, and I think this is his first Netflix special, but he is absolutely hilarious. And the reason it's called Hot Cross Buns is he busts out a recorder, those stupid plastic flute things that we all got as kids. Well, we didn't, but most people got as kids, and he starts playing them, and Hot Cross Buns is the song that everyone learns on the recorder. But highly recommend this. It is ridiculous and fantastic, and I can't recommend this enough. If you have Netflix, like like I do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like we both did.
Totally. Yeah. But if you get a chance, watch this. It's fantastic. It is so fun. My style of comedy, a lot of dark humor, but and unlike Anthony Jeselnik, who has a lot of setup, who I also like, who has a ton of setup for his jokes, very long, slow. Dave Attell's rapid fire, mixes in he does a lot of misdirection, mixes in dark humor, light humor, everything. This guy he's a master at his craft, and he is absolutely fantastic. Apparently this is a couple years old, and I just learned about it the other day. So Steel Ball Run trailer.
Yep. So as you guys probably know, I'm a big JoJo fan, and they just dropped the new trailer for Steel Ball Run, which is JoJo Part 7. Now, this was the first part that I read instead of watching because, it just didn't seem like it was going to be coming out anytime soon, and it's what most people consider to be the best JoJo story of all time, of all the parts. And I think I pretty much agree. I think this story has one of the best builds in not just really tension, but I guess escalation of what's happening. Kind of throughout it with one of the most interesting villains and such a great kind of final set piece that they have for it. And it might not seem it from the premise, but trust me, it is. I can't wait for it to come out and for people to experience it. I don't know. The one sad thing is it's still being released on Netflix only, and I just hope to God that they learned from Part 6 and don't do the whole, hey, we're going to release all the episodes in batches and completely kill all conversation about it. Because there's been a couple shows, like Dandadan's one of them, where they're actually releasing it weekly. And I know Dandadan isn't just on Netflix, but it's please, Netflix, you can do it. Release it weekly, so that way, I think what people call it JoJo Mondays or something, where that way an episode will come out and everybody's talking about the episode then when it came out. That's why Golden Wind, which I think is one of the weakest parts, is probably one of the most loved anime arcs, because that's when the anime kind of really hit its stride in terms of the animation, and you had that week release that people were just following week to week and just talking about the show constantly. So I don't know.
Yeah, we were so excited and both enjoyed Stone Ocean at first, and then they completely butchered it.
I still really enjoy Stone Ocean. I think it's probably in my top 3. It definitely is in my top 3 arcs of JoJo. Probably number 2 even. It's just, I remember I didn't watch the final set of episodes until half a year after it came out, because it's it came out.
I still haven't seen it.
I didn't even know. Oh, it's you got to finish it. It's really good.
Maybe I'll just start it back from the start.
Yeah, that probably would be best. That we don't have these huge gaps in between that just kills all hype for the momentum of the show. But yeah, part 6 is really good, and nobody talks about it, and I feel like nobody cares about it because of the way that it was released here in America. At the time, I thought it was really cool because I never got to watch JoJo because it wasn't available to stream anywhere, and then Netflix got the rights, and at the time I had Netflix, so I was like, cool. They actually started releasing JoJo in English on this, on the platform a season at a time, like a year in between each season. I could actually watch the show. But now it's cool. What was good at the time, because it actually got it published here on a streaming service in English, is now the death of the show so far, because nobody talks about it, because who wants to, it's coming out in Japan. And then Netflix is just yeah, we're going to wait 3 months for the first batch of episodes to release before we drop it all here in America. So nobody's talking about it. I don't know. I hope that changes, because this is one of the best, I guess, it's one of the best manga arcs ever. And all JoJo fans pretty much agree that it's the best JoJo part.
Sweet. Okay, next time I'm actually going to see this tonight, and I love the fact that it has a 2.0 out of 5 already.
Oh boy. So you were talking about how you thought the trailer looked interesting. So I was like, maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I watched a couple people talk about this movie. I was like, nope. Seems like it's just as bad, if not worse, than the first part.
Yep. Chapter 1 was just a total rehash of the original, and except done worse. The original 2 Strangers movies, I can't remember what the second one's called now. It had
They come at night, right?
They Come at Night. I was thinking like Run All Night or something. But the first 2 are quite good.
Or Pray at Night. Pray at Night.
Okay. Yeah,
I-
yeah, okay. But that Strangers Chapter 1 had no reason to exist. It was just a rehash of this new one, but they had to just crap out this. Now they're actually doing something different. They're veering off of the basic path, but I guess we'll see what happens. Actually,
Hey-
I guess I'll see what happens, but
Hey- Dan, what if I were to tell you that there's a chapter 3?
oh yeah, I know that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Weird, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I went to look up the name of the movie and I was like, oh, this isn't just a part 1, part 2. This is like a 3-parter. And
Yeah.
God,
Epic trilogy.
wonderful.
Yeah, okay. But I'm gonna watch it anyways, and I'll report back.
And you know what? Going off you, do you know what I'm gonna watch? Because I haven't ever watched it. The original
What?
The Strangers. I've never watched the original movie before.
If you don't like the original Strangers, I will be shocked. It is quite
That's what I'm
good.
saying. I'm pretty sure I like it. I just never got around to watching it around the time it came.
Yeah, you
Liv
should-
Tyler
you
is
should
in this
watch
movie. What? I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, I
Who?
think I'll probably try to watch Liv Tyler. She's like the
Yeah.
one the
main girl.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll watch that movie, and then that way we can have a positive review of a Strangers movie. Unless for some reason, but hey, you could come out of the part 2 and think it's the best thing ever. Well, I guess we'll find out. But yeah, no, I need a reason to watch the first one anyway. I've only had one thing really about the movie spoiled, and that's because people like, this part of the movie was so good and made it so terrifying. I guess spoilers for The Strangers, a line in it, but it's just like when they ask like why us, and they're like, because you were home, and just that idea of these
Yeah.
aren't people with logic. It's just this terrifying, like they're just that evil or insane. Where it's like that's what made it terrifying, and it's just lost that in these movies where it's that's not there anymore. It's like I don't know. But the movie I definitely will be watching or hopefully will be watching is One Battle After Another. It's another movie where I saw the trailer and I was like, this movie looks so boring and not interesting. I don't plan on watching it. And then people talking about the movie are like, it's really, really good. It's getting really good reviews. I mean, here it's got a freaking 4.5. So, maybe just the first trailer didn't look interesting to me. It could be a really fun movie. I know Paul Thomas Anderson's a very famous director, so I definitely want to give this a shot. I really like Leonardo DiCaprio. He was at one point in time, probably not anymore, but one point in time my favorite actor because of just how much he would put into every single role of his. Inception, came out on my birthday, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, let's see how this goes, I guess.
I'll wait for your report on this before I.
Do you want me to
watch it, but-
text you after I see it, so that way you can maybe see it by the time
Yeah.
the next time that we do it? Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I want to play this game
Uh,
so bad. I just
And
wanna
this
find-
I downloaded during my on week, and it's sitting there on the PlayStation waiting for me. So I'm gonna give this a try and see how it goes. It looks pretty
Look.
freaky. Silent Hill F. So I will let you know how it goes. But yeah, I'll at least start it and give my first impressions by next recording. So
Hopefully, once I'm done with
Alright.
my class stuff, I can finally finish Clear Obscure, but I've just had
Yeah.
so much work stuff I've had to do that I was just like, I do not have time.
well, I think that'll do it for us. So and I was like, oh, this will be a short episode. I'm glad it ended up being what do we got? Hour
Beat
20.
there, I mean-
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll do it for us. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.
Peace.